this is Girls Talk Tech. I'm Diana Kris Navarro.
Hi, I'm Sofia.
Hi, I'm Michele.
Hi, I'm Alexis.
I would say that engineering to me personally was kind of, it was kind of this hobby that I really liked. I learned how to code. I actually learned how to code in AP Computer Science in high school, and I hated it because I was like one of the only like 3 girls in like my whole class. Has anybody take?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm the only girl in my computer science class right now.
Wait, really?
I am the only girl.
Wait, you go to a college?
I go to a college.
Oh my god. Okay.
It's the smaller class. There are 10 people in the class.
Oh my.
White male instructor.
Oh, of course.
I look like this.
Yeah.
And every other person in the class is a white or Asian guy, and I'm just sitting there, black girl in computer science class. It's weird.
Is there a community that you can join?
It's funny because you did all of these coding programs outside of college and school, and that's how I got into computer science in the first place. And I think that that's what really opened myself up to a community to fall back on when I feel very ostracized in computer
that was,
science.
I think, like the thing for me as well. Like engineering, to me, like computer science and engineering had always been a thing, even though I took like AP classes in school and stuff like that, a thing that was formed for me outside of school with like Girls Who Code and Built by Girls and Code with Classy. Like the face of what software engineering and coding and computer science is so different than I think I found out when I was like going into school and stuff like that. Because I'd go into these spaces where I was like, oh my god, we're all girls, we're all like of different races, ethnicities, like everyone's so different, and I'm learning this amazing, wonderful thing with all of these amazing, wonderful people. And then it's like you kind of shift into what it looks like, I don't know, in the real world. And it was kind of like
it's a culture shock.
Yeah, literally a thing where I was like, oh my god, so this is actually how it is.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit scary, but then you do have like that wonderful community of people to fall back on, which was cool.
Yeah. I love the fact that I learned kind of like in my process of learning how to code, I was part of Girls Who Code, which you're saying that was the similar situation.
Yeah.
Okay, and for you as well. How did you learn how to?
I started as a kid making fan pages for anime on GeoCities.
What is
On Tumblr or?
GeoCities and Angel Fire. Google it. And then I guess customizing MySpace pages and Zangas.
Okay.
And then I studied computer science in high school and took the AP test, and I hated it so much that I went to college and studied English.
That's so funny.
So then how did you get?
I went back to school in my mid-20s and got a BS in computer science.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated my AP class. Girls Who Code really changed it for me. Like I really liked it because I made a game.
Oh, that is so cool. What
and
did
then
you do?
you guys know the Lilo and Stitch sandwich stacker game on Disney.
Oh yes, yep.
Okay,
yes,
yeah. I made that, but with like with a ice cream cone.
That's so
and
cute.
scoops.
That's
yeah,
so
and I
cute.
thought it was really fun. And so they were like, "Oh, you like, you're using like frameworks. Like this is coding." And I was like, "Oh my god, I really like this stuff." And then I decided to go into it in college.
I think the most amazing thing about like Girls Who Code and like programs like that is that I think that those different programs give you such a like a narrow focused look on coding that doesn't have like the social pressures kind of added to it. Like I feel like when I was sitting in APCSP or APCSA, I was like not only stressed about the fact that I have no idea what Java's supposed to be doing, but also like, oh my god, all the boys are being like mean to me, no one's helping me, no one's talking. And like Girls Who Code and like Code with Classy and Built by Girls, it's always about like supporting each other and collaboration. So it's never something that was like even more isolating than computer science already has to be. So that's like why I like want young people to like build up their confidence in computer science and spaces like that, because I know how hard it could get once you get to like high school and like you absolutely hate it.
One of the reasons I ended up going back to school was a weekend course for women to learn Ruby on Rails.
Love Ruby.
Where was this?
It was at ThoughtWorks. in
Okay. Oh
Manhattan.
yeah.
Yeah, they were super encouraging, and it was all women learning, but women at different stages. Like there were actually professional women there who just wanted to pick up Ruby.
Oh, that's so cool.
I think that programs like that, they really encourage project-based learning, which is something that is just so lost from our education system.
I think that when I went into engineering, people were like, oh, you're so talkative for an engineer. And I'm like, well, actually, like, I can't like always solve problems by myself. And it's actually like really beneficial to like call up my girlfriend at like 3 a.m. and be like, I have no idea how to do this.
Especially like when you're looking at your computer for like 12 hours and you're like, I have no idea what's going on or what's wrong. You need to have like those skills to like talk to someone else and be like,
I mean,
what's happening?
That'll be the same at work.
Yeah.
You'll be trying to solve a problem. I don't know what's happening. So you end up texting your coworker on Slack asking for help.
I also know the podcast. I'm not right. Listen.
Yeah, the founder of Girls Who Code like wrote this book, and she also has a podcast. And she talks about how we want to be perfect, and so much of computer science is like failing. So much of life right now, right, is like there's so many failures that you have to go through in order to have this success that you want. But women don't want to take much of a risk, and when they first get failure, they don't want to go through that again, as opposed to guys. Like, men will the same guy will catcall me on the street every single day walking out of my apartment, and every time I ignore him, he'll just persist, because
That's
it's
what
fine.
you do as a guy.
That's what you do as a guy. You just persist.
Keep going.
And they're just trained to just persist, while we are like, oh, if we're failing, like maybe we're just not good at whatever we were trying.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about failing is so true, because like another really important thing you have to learn about computer science really fast is that you are going to fail 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And you just keep working through that.
Yeah.
Like, you keep working through the errors, through the confusion, and through that cloudiness. And know that, like, everyone that has coded before you and everyone that's coding alongside you is failing just as much as you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just don't show it. And I think that's, like, the first step towards learning that, like, getting into that computer science mindset.
Yeah, there was this, I think it was a quote in the book where Rashma is friends with this professor at NYU who teaches computer science, and she's a woman, and she was like, girls will come to my office hours and get a B and be like, I'm failing computer science, I'm gonna quit, this is not for me. But men won't even who are getting C's in her class aren't even going to office hours, and they're like super confident. They're like, oh yeah, I can code and I'll be fine. And it's just so interesting to hear that we take failure way too seriously. Yeah.
And I think that doing programs like Code with Glossy and like Girls Who Code is so important, because it's like, I'm taught at a younger age that it's okay to fail. This is what computer science is, and get like your feet wet before like venturing into this big bad world where you're the only girl in your classes.
And I feel like it's important to have that culture around failing, like, at least when you're learning for the first time, where it's like, since you're not being graded and since you're in this space that's like praising you for making strides towards building something greater, it's like almost like a safer and more like padded environment sometimes. And I feel like that's the sort of integration that we need to get more girls into computer science, since we do have so much of that societal pressure to make sure we're perfect all the time, like having these environments where
What was it like learning computer science again, getting your BS later on in your career?
It was hard. I went to school part-time while I worked full-time, so it was doing all that homework after I finished a full day at work. My classes were still 95% men, and being a 26-year-old woman around a bunch of 19-year-old men is not fun. One of the nicer things about being older is you really do not care what 19-year-olds think about you. I found my niche in my classes. One of the people I met in my first week of classes at Brooklyn College, I still talk to today. We ended up at the same company. He's awesome, and he's always there to help me out if I'm having an issue. It's just important to find your people. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for any girls who are too scared to try out engineering?
Coding isn't mindlessly typing on your computer, and it's not hacking into the mainframe. It's making things from scratch using technical thinking. And I think that if you don't try it, you'll never know. all of the potential that you're able to unlock with tech.
I think that the biggest thing that I've learned about computer science is that a lot of the time it's about the passion that you bring to whatever project you're making. I think it's all about just starting. There's a lot of fear that comes around computer science and engineering and just anything STEM related. And I think the sooner that you teach yourself that you can do truly whatever you put your mind to, the sooner you'll get into these spaces that you never believed you ever could.
My advice for kids who want to go into engineering but are a little too hesitant to get started would be, hey, I almost failed my AP Computer Science class, and I'm software engineer now. Find a community, whether it's physically in your town or your school or online. There are a ton of groups that you can join to kind of ask questions, and there are so many people in tech now who are really nice like us and who would love to answer your questions about technical stuff.
For me, my advice to a girl or a woman going into tech and worried about it, there are a lot of mediocre boys and men already in tech. Why not crowd them out?
You're right.
Thanks for watching
Girls Talk Tech. Bye!